Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of ASMR Cryptids, Conspiracies, and Chaos, ASMR C3. My name is Bishop, and welcome back to my channel. It is my pleasure to be your narrator and illustrator for this episode. If you are interested in any of the references I found for this video, you may go ahead and go down to the bottom description box to do a little bit of rabbit hole diving for yourself, because I've left them there for you. This video will be on the history and lore of voodoo/root work. When researching this topic in my favorite watering hole, Wikipedia, I discovered that voodoo or voodoo is a much wider topic than I had originally understood. There's Santeria, Cuban voodoo, Dominican voodoo, and those two were developed in the Spanish Empire. Haitian voodoo, which is practiced chiefly in Haiti. Hoodoo, or root work, sometimes called Low Country voodoo. Louisiana voodoo, or New Orleans voodoo, which is what you see referenced in Disney's Princess and the Frog. And lastly mentioned on Wikipedia is West African voodoo, which is practiced by certain ethnic groups of Africa. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to focus on root work, which was developed within the voodoo tradition in Louisiana. The voodoo religion is created in slave quarters in Haiti and Louisiana when various faiths of religious people began to intermingle. It is a closed practice, so if you're a baby occultist looking to practice it, from my understanding, you have to be invited into the practice. You may correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. The word voodoo itself means spirits, and voodoo is a religious or magico-religious practice which aims at connecting spirits and mortals. The interaction is only possible through a magical possession using a gris-gris. A gris-gris definition is nuanced. It can be either the magical act or an object used for magic, or both. Voodoo steers away from its more religious base into the superstition. It is commonly associated with when a gris-gris is treated as containing the magic in itself. Spirits are no longer the strongest force. Magic can come from the gris-gris itself. The Voodoo Doll is a gris-gris, but can be used as a religious object or a superstitious one depending on how the user treats it. The Voodoo Doll is usually a small, soft doll representing a person, though the extent of the physical detail may vary. This doll, lying alone on a table, is no different from any other type of doll. However, the sharp pins which accompany the doll make it a voodoo doll. The person handling the doll has complete control over the doll and can push the pins into the entirety of its soft body, attaching strands of hair or the name of the subject to the doll. The concept rests on its body being the material incarnation of a person, although religious usage of the voodoo doll uses outside spirits. Both the voodoo and Nikisi doll are inanimate objects to whom great powers are attributed, but in different ways. When these objects are given agency, the supposed segregation between thing and human is further blurred. Externally, the two figures may seem similar in their function, but their purpose, materially, and the use in social context differentiates them greatly. The Nikisi is very much used to maintain and regulate social order, whereas the Voodoo Doll is extensively used for personal needs. It's pretty important to understand the nuances of the doll. Voodoo dolls that are sold in the shops in New Orleans and elsewhere are small human effigies, and they're usually crudely modeled after a specific person. From the source of learnreligions.com, they're described as being made from 2 sticks tied in a cross shape to make a body with 2 arms sticking out. The cloth body is sometimes filled with Spanish moss as stuffing. The head is of black cloth or wood, and it often has rudimentary facial features, often decorated with feathers and sequins. They also come with a pin or a dagger and instructions on how to use it. Voodoo dolls are mostly made for the tourist market in places like New Orleans and the Caribbean. Now, understandably, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to miss in the research of something like this, because voodoo and root work and hoodoo and Santeria all have their vast, rich histories attached to them. And a couple-week-long internet Google search isn't going to uncover everything. And I would do better to learn from someone who actually practices it. Not to necessarily say that I would want to practice voodoo, but just kind of understand the culture and the paths that one takes to go and practice it and everything. Because I think a lot can be learned from respecting other individuals' religious preferences. If you would like to attribute any information or education, please feel free to comment down below. No rude comments, please. On Brown University's educational website, they left a couple definitions for voodoo to kind of help with the understanding and nomenclature behind the religion. There is the Minkisi, a thing that does things. Nikisi, a spirit personality controlling a particular activity or function. Also, a material composite through which a spirit can be approached. Nakandi, a loosely defined class of Nikisi, whose functions included hunting witches and other unknown wrongdoers. Many are wooden figures stuck full of nails and other hardware. Naganga, an expert owner and operator of a Nikisi. Voodoo, as we've been going over in this video, is a religion derived from African polytheism and ancestral worship. A gris, which is an amulet, charm, or spell of African origin. A Loa, spirits and voodoo religion. And Legba. He is the most important spirit who gives or denies permission to speak to the other spirits. He is the first and last to invoke voodoo ceremonies. As I had cautioned earlier, voodoo is a practice that you have to be invited into, and it's best to be trained in the practice before stepping into it. There have been stories of people trying to work with Papa Legba, and they end up meeting kind of nefarious ends because they don't know how to work with him. It's better to just respect things that you don't fully understand. As always, I would like to take this time to thank you for joining me today. Please hit that subscribe button for more content, and please boot that like button. Have a great day.